Good morning to all of you. Dr. Satish Reddy, the Scientific Advisor to Defense Minister and Director General of Missiles and Strategic Systems, Defense Research Development Organization, Government of India, who is the chief guest of today's function. Professor Prabhat Ranjan, the keynote speaker of today's function. Ms. Michiko Enomoto, Director UNAPCTT, Dr. Mark Malandro, Vice Chancellor for Technology Management, Commercialization, University of Pittsburgh, Mr. Sarkar, the Director of NRDC Board and a Senior Scientist in the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, Mr. Agarwal, the Founder Director of ITAG and a collaborator in this program. Eminent invited speakers, moderators like Dr. Yatin, Dr. Christopher Laying, Professor Jagannath, Dr. Jitendra Jain, Dr. Guru Prasad, Dr. Kardam, Dr. Hirvani, Dr. Jitendra Verma, distinguished invitees, delegates, ladies, gentlemen, and my dear colleagues from DSIR and NRDC. Very good morning and Happy New Year to all of you once again. On behalf of the organizing committee and on my own behalf, I extend my very warm welcome to you all for this today's one-day international seminar. I would like to briefly explain the origin, the objectives of this one-day seminar. Last year in GIPC, I was one of the invited speakers in the technology transfer session, which was moderated by Dr. Yatin. After the session was over, Dr. Yatin appreciated the excellent work being done by NRDC in India in the area of technology transfer and IP commercialization. As you all know, NRDC is the largest and the oldest technology transfer organization in the country, which has the credit of licensing more than 5,000 technologies in the country and abroad, and filed 1,700 patents, and suggested that NRDC and ITAC could organize an exclusive one-day seminar, which can be prelude to the GIPC 2017, so that the global best practices in technology transfer and IP commercialization could be discussed for the benefit of the Indian technology transfer professionals, as a large number of experts would be coming to Delhi for attending the GIPC 2017. This is the origin of this workshop. Because of Dr. Yatin's foresightedness and initiative, the event is happening today in a very modest way. We assure you this is only a beginning, and we wish to strengthen this initiative in the time to come through several professional partnerships. NRDC and ITAC is thankful to Dr. Yatin. We are all aware that USA is the gold standard for technology transfer and IP commercialization in the world. This they have achieved through an effective implementation of several policies and acts, whereas in India, we are still evolving in the area of technology transfer and commercialization, and we have our own set of challenges, and there are many gaps in our innovation ecosystem. Some of them are, for example, the technology development and transfer efforts are very highly fragmented, except defense, space, and atomic energy. There is no national or centralized technology database which tells us how many number of technologies have been developed in this country, how many of the technologies developed have been commercialized, how many number of jobs have been created by way of technology licensing, what is the wealth created by licensing of these technologies. We don't have figures in our country. Particularly this information is very useful for the policy makers, whereas in USA, every 2 years they compile this information, they bring a compendium and the technology is licensed by various public funded organizations, universities in their country. Similarly, the IP filings, if you look at it, our IP filings are also very poor or rather very limited. If you look at last year, only 46,000 patents have been filed. Again, in this 46,000 patents, only 20% are filed by the Indian researchers. The remaining 80% of the patents have been filed by the MNCs and foreign nationals. Again, the patent commercialization is also very low, as Dr. Agarwal mentioned, because we don't have a platforms or a systems for IP trading or IP commercialization. Again, if you look at the technology transfer, commercialization is not mandatory by law or by act in India. Whereas in US, whatever technologies are being developed, the universities have to disclose and they have to be licensed by putting a systematic effort by the Bayh-Dole Act. But whereas in India, it is left to the free will of the institutions. There is no compulsion, there is no mandatory requirement. The technologies which have been developed by these public funded research labs needs to be commercialized. Again, another important missing link is the industry university partnerships, again, are very limited. The other challenge is the private sector investment in our R&D is also very poor. If you look at the figures, Government of India spends 75% of the R&D expenditure. Private sector invests only around 25%. And if you compare with the US systems, again, it's exactly opposite. In US, 75% of the R&D expenditure comes from the industry, only 25% comes from the government. So that is the reason why the innovation ecosystem is very vibrant in US. Again, we have another problem is the limited access to the early stage risk capital. Then there are no trained cadre of technology transfer professionals in India. But whereas if you look at US university system or US technology transfer systems, they are very well developed and they have offices called technology transfer offices and positions like associate directors, directors, vice chancellors for technology transfer and commercialization. Some of the prominent people in this area from US are here today to share their perspectives and help us in understanding how they have become world leaders in technology transfer and commercialization. Of course, the Government of India, under the able leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi, has been taking several disruptive policy initiatives to improve the effectiveness of our innovation ecosystem. But we need to do much more to catch up with the developed economies. Keeping in view all our challenges and with a view to understand the technology transfer and IP commercialization ecosystem and the best practices, particularly in the US, we have designed this one-day workshop in association with Mr. Dr. Yatin and Dr. Agarwal. We have titled this workshop as Technology Transfer as a Tool to Optimize IP and Innovation. Basically, this one-day seminar has two sessions focused on, one is an industry-university partnerships through innovation and commercialization, US perspective. Basically, we would like to bring the best practices in the area of technology transfer and commercialization from US. There are 6 eminent speakers in this session. Dr. Yatin, Associate Director of Technology Transfer, Lehigh University, will be moderating and chairing this session. The second session is Technology Transfer, Key Tool for IP Optimization, the Indian Perspectives. Here again, there are 5 eminent speakers in the second session. Dr. Guru Prasad, the Chief Controller, DRDO, will be moderating and chairing this session. We expect at the end of the seminar that we will be more knowledgeable on the subject of technology transfer and IP commercialization. Of course, this is the minimum what we can expect. The next one is we expect a strong networking takes place between the speakers, the delegates, and the invitees. And our awareness levels would be much better compared to before attending this conference. We also understand some of the best practices in the area of technology transfer and commercialization. And finally, we would like to come out with a roadmap for further collaborations to leverage the opportunities for growth. This is broadly the objectives and the purpose of organizing this workshop. I request all the participants to interact very closely with the learned experts. We have drawn, of course, rather we got the best experts in this area, and it is up to us how do we leverage through our interactions and acquire more knowledge and implement some of the best practices what we are going to learn from the learned speakers in our day-to-day activities of technology transfer and commercialization. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Doctor, for setting the tone of our deliberation.